We have not always been here, and we will not be here again. That is the large picture of humanity, whatever archaeology, forbidden, controversial, or acceptable, you wish to believe. 200,000 years ago, or 2 million years ago, we weren't always here, we didn't always exist, and sometime in the future we won't again. I know that's supposed to be liberating and provide perspective, but it bums the shit out of me. And that's just humans. What about Americans? What about the American Empire? Do you really think we'll be here intact as long as the Egyptian Empire? They lasted for 3,000 years. Or the Roman Empire. They fell apart after a mere 1,000 years. America is stumbling and bumbling to 300 years. We're the first empire with ADD. When it comes to civilizations, empires, species coming and going, perhaps this is an existential approach because one thing they all have in common, their greed and lust for power and short-sightedness led to their own demise. And of course, there are many factors, warning signs, portents, that must be ignored for this to occur. Perhaps the biggest is climate change. You hear it now from the greedy who cling to power. There's been numerous ice ages and cataclysms and extinction events, so what if we're going through another one here? And I suppose that's a valid point of view, unless it's your rationalization for profiting from the destruction of the planet. That is not cool, no pun intended. And let's face it, that's what's going on here. Unfortunately, the people in government and industry that summarily dismiss climate change as just weather are really not that much different than the people in government and industry who make noise about being responsive to climate change and global warming, but can only accept a plan that calls for small changes in our consumer habits over the next few decades. Changes that we'll never reach anyway, while government/industry continues to profit from our downfall. But they can say, oh, we had a plan, we had an agreement. You know, the world will be so different in 50 years. Most of these ideas will be irrelevant and won't make a difference if it's not too late. And some people think it's already too late. And even if it's not too late, wouldn't it be smarter to act as if it was? Plus, this gives industry and government plenty of time to come up with new ways to bespoil the planet and exploit our dwindling resources. That's not going to stop, not without something radical happening. By the way, we're told and conditioned and propagandized again and again, over and over, that we live in a democracy. But the old definitions of democracy, communism, fascism, totalitarianism, are so irrelevant to our modern 21st century world. The concept of countries itself has been rendered irrelevant. But they want us to believe in it even though it doesn't exist. They want us to believe in borders even though they don't exist. Selling that belief is crucial to their success, but it's a form of mind control, like the belief in God. Mind control by the powerful globalists, neoliberals, fascist oligarchs, and totalitarians that currently rule the world, including America. That the fact that there isn't a clean name for it, that there isn't a simple name for all these things combined, it's part of the brilliance. So we call these people Marxists, and these people capitalists, and these people communists, and these people leftists, and these people rightists, and this way everybody can think they're right. But it's quite simple. By any name, by any label, we are ruled by the greedy and powerful and fuck everybody else. The greedy, powerful, fuck everybody else party. It's not as catchy as democracy or fascism, but it'll have to do because it's the truth. So I guess when it comes to global warming, we have to decide a few things. Are you okay with wealthy and greedy people in positions of power in the neoliberal world order telling you A, don't worry about it, or B, don't worry about it because here's the plan, while C, they continue to profit from the devastation, which really boils down to fuck you, fuck your children, and fuck the future. Yes, there are arsonists who set fires, but let's not be distracted. The true arsonists are the gas, oil, coal, chemical, energy companies who have run amok for decades with neoliberal deregulation. And that's not just the Republican agenda. Obama and Clinton and most Democrats in leadership positions have pushed that agenda just as much. Meanwhile, we are kept unaware of the true machinations and manipulations of the system to perpetuate this agenda. If you want to save the earth, save yourself, save humanity, then your enemy is the global government and multinational private industries in cahoots, partners around the world. We fought World War I and World War II, and even now we have so many wars going on. But how do you fight that one? How do you go to war against China, Russia, the United States, India, Brazil, the EU? How do you go to war against yourself? I don't know. I wish somebody did. I believe in the concept of science. And of course, there are responsible, concerned scientists who've been warning us for decades and trying to find solutions. But science, the institution of science, is as corrupt as any institution. There are far more scientists who work for these polluting companies and sit on these committees and are paid off by shadowy entities to put a scientific spin on the problem that alleviates these companies of any responsibility. So what's the answer? Is it a revolution? What is a revolution? A revolution of what? By who? For what? These powerful forces have done such an effective job of separating us that we in America, and certainly the world, will never agree on anything. This is the success story of the neoliberal world order, to keep us separated, to render us helpless so that we remain dependent on them. They've painted all of humanity into a corner and said, if you want to get out, you must do what we say. Have you seen the wildfires in the western United States or Australia or Russia? Have you seen the flooding on the East Coast or in Europe? Have you seen the ice melting in the Arctic or Siberia? Do you think having 50% of the cars going electric by 2050 or whatever the fuck it is will fix that? Stop and think about these conditions that exist today and then imagine what the world will look like in 2050. Your road trip won't be from LA to New York. It will be from the land of fire to the land of melting ice to the land of darkness. Borders won't matter. Laws won't matter. Food will be scarce. Diseases and viruses will be rampant. Air will be unbreathable. Water will be undrinkable. We will have become numb to hundreds of thousands dying from all these things and more. But half of us will be driving a Chevy Volt. Great. Are you ready to watch humankind be wiped out while these greedy fools dither about your carbon emissions but do nothing to actually stem the tide, no pun intended, of the corporate greed that actually creates this problem? This isn't a Democratic or Republican problem. The Democrats and Republicans are the problem. They live for today, but they don't care if we live at all. Look, if you don't want to hear this, believe me, I understand. I don't want to hear it either. And maybe that's the problem that needs to be solved. Remember, every desert was once a verdant, lush, green landscape with clean, potable water coursing through it, and life of all kinds, animal, vegetable, mineral, thriving in the midst of it. We started out in the Garden of Eden, but we're ending up in Death Valley.